Hello, everyone. Shannon Guss here, getting you ready for a post-season interview for Australian Survivor versus the World. Yes, we're into the post-season. We got a bit of time with Luke, and we just took more time. Luke said he had about an hour, and then he never told me to wrap it up. So we went closer to 2 hours and spoke all about that and Luke's game, and obviously went the full duration of the season. So we spoke about all of that and hope you enjoy that. All the other X interviews are out, other than David, who is busy being host of the show. So we did recently with Pav and Janine and with Sari. We also had Cass last week. We have hopefully a longer interview with Pav coming very soon. Mike and I are also going to do something for the people who have never watched Australian Survivor and are fans now due to watching this global show and are US fans before. We're going to do like a guide to watching Australian Survivor. So that's going to come out, and hopefully some other fun stuff as well. But keep following me at Shannon Gates. Subscribe to the We Know Global Survivor channel so you get all of that. I will also be launching my own podcast with my husband Peter called Gussin' Around, Gussin, and no second G, around. And if you want to subscribe on YouTube, that's already out at Gussin' Around Podcast on YouTube. And then keep an eye on social media because we'll be launching that with the first episode hopefully very soon as well. So that's everything from me. Follow along. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time. Bye. Luke, hi. So good to chat. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you have so much going on, and it's a very busy time. So thank you so much for making some time to talk about the game with us.
No pleasure, Shan. Anything for you?
I appreciate it. I wanted to ask you how Maddie's doing. I know some of our listeners might not know that after the season, I think your daughter Maddie, who has cystic fibrosis, has been through the trenches, been in the trenches, has been in hospital for most of that time. I don't know if you could give an update, because I definitely been thinking about her, and I know probably a lot of the listeners have as well.
Yeah, so it's funny. So we're actually working out how many days it was post me, the finale, the actual last episode. I think I got back on the 6th of October. My birthday was on the 7th. And then it was like, I looked at my phone. What was it? It was like the 14th or something when we went to hospital. So what was that? So, yeah, less than like a week later, we went to hospital. I've got the photos of when we were kind of heading there. And then obviously that's when things started going downhill. It was like 4 days post this, so it's 7 days now. We've left the show. Or 9, what is it, 9 days now? So last Sunday, it's Tuesday. So she would have been already in hospital, and then she had a bowel obstruction, which kind of got really bad. And then after 4 days, it was to a point where it was a Saturday night at midnight, and they were like, we need to take her in for an operation ASAP because she was going downhill. And then, so really then it was like, so it would be like, that happened. And then she was in ICU, and then, shit went really down south for the next 2 weeks. So either way, like some people go, oh, how do you feel not losing and all that stuff, and but it does bring me back to the memories of the fact there's like post Survivor, like I had a bigger fight on my hands, after that show. So look, right now she's got intestinal failure, so she's got she's now had so much of her bowels cut out that if say her bowels don't regenerate or heal, that we just don't know if there's enough bowel left to cut out the bad part of the bowel. So she's like has to live on TPN and like a feed pump that pumps into her stomach because she's got a PEG now. So it's like a valve that you can feed into your intestines through your stomach. And then also a drain that drains your your stomach fluid, and so she's still got like all these drains and everything attached to her, roughly about 18 hours a day. So,
but is she in hospital now, or is she home now?
She's out of hospital, so we did the 9 months in there, and then so she's out. But obviously, as you can understand, that she has to go back nearly like a lot, and she has to live on a thing called TPN, which is they drop off like 5, like they drop off like an amount of TPN a week that you have to set up like IV, and that keeps her like nutrient levels and stuff, like, so she can live, Yes. But anyway, she's like, yeah, it's been a lot. You know what I mean? But
sounds like a lot. She's a warrior. She's a fighter.
But she's back at school, so she's like at school for like 2 hours a day.
That's good. 3
hours a day. So we get to unhook her from all the machines for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's life, right?
Well, not for many, and I'm always thinking about her and always thinking about you guys, because she's 6, right? Like that's insane, but she's a warrior. I can't imagine where she gets that one from, and I'm always hoping for the best for her and hoping that she gets better.
Well, we hope that eventually, like, her guts will heal and somehow become back to normal. We just. I think that hope thing's always can be an iffy one, but at the same time it's good to have. So
yeah, and you raised a lot as well for the hospital at the beginning of the season, right? You did like an auction, and yeah.
Well, I thought that by the time I was in hospital, the show would be airing, so I actually thought I'd be like watching it in hospital, and it was funny that like we got out, I don't know, maybe like a week and a half just before it airs, so. It just made, I was like, had a bit of a, I guess like an epiphany that I was like, oh, maybe I should just do like a fundraiser, and just put it out to any events. And, a lady that works for like the Marlin Group, which own a whole lot of pubs and stuff around Perth, they just reached out and, we put it together, raised 21,000, which was awesome money, and had some people down there, and then it's funny because then I had to go back to hospital because my daughter's been, she's got some other, there's been lots of issues, so we had to go back for like another week. So I got to watch 2 episodes, 2 episodes of the show back in hospital.
I'm sure it brought a lot of joy to everyone having a TV star around the halls of the show.
Look, I think Maddie's the superstar in there.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah,
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, she makes me look normal and feel normal.
So, well, she's got this. I really believe that my heart breaks for you guys, but I believe she's got it. She seems incredibly strong. But Luke, it's so nice to be talking Survivor with you again. So we can talk about this crazy game that you went through. One of my favorite themes was like you coming back from Tribal Council with your like great reactions to like what just happened. My favorite was Curbs got toasted, goddamn. I'm trying to include that in my like general speaking. I don't know. I've forgotten how to speak. But like my data, Curbs got toasted. Listen to me. Curbs got toasted, goddamn. Amazing. My favorite one.
Yeah, well, I was like, obviously we'll go through chronological order, but that one was just like kind of like, oh, I told you would jump over to the other side and they'll burn you. Like that's like, I know it's weird, but it is my 3rd season, and you do have these like you want to be on the right side of the votes come merge, and that's obviously a perfect example why.
Yeah. Well, okay. So much in the season. My first question is getting out there. I know you watched Tony videos before you went out to play the first time. So obviously you knew the Australian players. Who on the World Tribe did you know of getting out there?
Yeah, I knew Suri, I knew Parvati. Obviously I know Lisa, I know that there's a big chat around this fact that it's like I didn't know who she was. I'm just a bit of a shit talker when I'm doing booking professionals, You got to remember, we're doing them for like 2 hours at times, and there's always in every season I'll be like, damn, I said some funny shit, and it never made the cut. It never made the final edit. And so for me to say the one about Lisa or whatever, saying I don't know where she's from, and and her name and all that. I know exactly who Lisa is, and I know
Yeah,
exactly
you're my
where
guest.
Ed
We covered Lisa's season together. We did the second last episode together.
Yeah, and and this is why the fact with Lisa staying in the game, later on down the track, and me trying to work with her, I definitely used some of those things, like my connection to New Zealand and certain things that have shaped me over the years. And I always looked at her as a threat out there just as much, because it's the underrated, the people that do sometimes play the under the radar games that can keep getting to the end and then do something. So especially like in Merge, you got to understand we haven't played with them, so the dynamics, you don't know who's on top, who's on bottom on the other side. So. But yeah, and I didn't know obviously the other guys. I didn't know Tommy and Cass.
And Rob. Did you know Rob?
And Rob, I knew who Rob was. Yeah, I haven't watched his season, but I definitely knew that he was. People talked highly of him and his game and stuff. It's still a season that's evaded me, but yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, and then the Australia tribe, you were like so connected. You have David, Janine, Sarah. You've known Kirby in the past. I always thought you could kind of get along with George, and then Shawnee you seem to get along with as well. Like, what was your initial relationships with the tribe, the Australia tribe?
Well, I didn't know that Dave was going to be out there. Like, that spun me out. Yeah, he tricked me. Like, I was like, not tricked me, but like, obviously, the fact is, and I just didn't think he was going to be out there because he'd always said that he wouldn't play Survivor again, and I knew he'd moved to Texas and stuff. So I was like, but then Sarah, I didn't know she was going to be. In my head, when I landed there, I thought Shawnee would be there, and I thought George would be there. I didn't believe Dave was going to be there. And so when I seen Janine and Sarah, like, that was, obviously good for me. It's hard for me as well because you're having these connections. You got to understand, like it's a positive, but for me, it's like, it's a positive, but also a negative because, it's impossible to want to write someone's name down that you actually have, like, like if I had to write Dave's name down, Sarah's name down, Kirby's, like, I managed to escape writing all their names down because I didn't really want them to go.
Yeah.
So you gotta understand, like, it comes with a positive and a negative where you're expected to play with these people, and then if you ever had the chance to vote them out, like yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of an emotional person out there, and like when you do have to vote someone out that you generally would want to win, for instance, over yourself if you couldn't win. So it's tough when you like everyone.
Yeah.
And that's why with new seasons, when they're newbies, I don't know them, so you got no problem in voting them out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, George wanted to work with you, and I felt like it seemed like you and Dave weren't into that. Like, what were you guys thinking about that?
No. So I really wanted to work with George at the start. I actually, so George came over to me and told me that Janine was potentially coming for David, and I went over to Dave and told him that, and then I kind of got the vibe that I thought Dave was just keen on running his own show a little bit, and so I was like. Then I kind of swooped back to George and I was like, maybe me and George could really have a really, really tight relationship like Cara and me, like him and Cara. I even said to him, I was like, dude, I could be the Cara for this season for you and we can work together, And then obviously then the thing went about Kirby going for Dave, and then George was going to jump on, and then I kind of thought then it started swinging back towards George through a couple other people with Janine and stuff, and I was like if George goes, it will still be good because I've then put it out that like me and Cara, like me and George, like build it up as us two, and then he gets voted out, and he's and then it's because I've got really close to him and we created two. But the thing is with George, it was still like there was this little thing where it's like I know everyone on the tribe, and yet I'm working with someone that I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder for me to go, should I go down this road? And then he's sitting there saying, Janine's coming for David. And at my head, I was like, well, I got Janine out. So should I be working with Janine because Janine will eventually come for me? You got to understand, like in that first window on the beach, it's very hard to get a bit of a gist of where do you want to go? Do I want to stay with Dave and Janine? Is Janine going to cut David just like George said? Should I get Janine out because I got Janine out? All I knew is Shani, I hadn't worked with her. So naturally I stole the bananas and kind of tried to create a bit of a friendship there. And I knew she had a bit of beef with George. So when Kirby kind of told me that she was going, that Shani had mentioned Dave's name and wanted to get Dave, there was the two there. And then because, the pressure started going on Dave, then it started swinging around again to be like, okay, well, Kirby's now going for Dave. You've seen that instance where there was a bit of pressure going on there. I found the idol. Dave was like, I need some help here kind of thing. And only because I was then now curious to be like, down the track, if I had to turn on Dave, I don't know if I could. Yeah. I actually don't know if I could write Dave's name down, for my own greater game. And because there was only 14 people, it's a smaller game. So, and then when it finally started swinging around a few times and we thought maybe Sarah was with us, then I just thought, you know what? I've got my idol. I can easily stay under the radar here and play, as in it's always big move Luke and, big move artists or whatever. And I was like, there's all these huge people. It's actually smart for me to just stay quiet, stay low, and let maybe Dave try to make the decision on this move, Yeah. And so that's where I decided just to set back and let Dave make the decision. So in tribal, he was like, oh, should we take out George? And I was like, sweet, we can take out George. And then, Janine didn't trust George, and I was like, well, I trusted George. To be honest, I felt like George probably trusted me the most out of anyone in the game. But at that sentence, I'm still completely aligned to Dave. So, like, whatever Dave wanted to do, I wasn't going to sit there and air him out and be like, me and George are like this. And in the end, if George went, it wasn't like a big loss to me. I was like, because I still had doubts, and I still knew I was tight with Sarah, Kirby. Like, I still knew I had ways of getting information.
Yeah.
And Janine wanted to stay with Dave. So I was like, you know what? This is one of those votes where I'll just like sit on my idol, let it play out. Like, and then obviously Dave said, no, we're going George because we're going to go Shani. If we went Shani, me and George would have been like, yeah, sweet, good move. We took out Shani, for instance. And me and him would have went to camp like champions. But at the same time, I was like, that relationship still had a big question mark on me. That even if I had to, like, I'm not going to sit there and try and make George stay longer than Dave.
Yeah.
Like, that's like Pav picking, Lisa over Sari. Like, she hasn't met Lisa, and then she's going to pick Sari. Like, so in my head, if George went, it was just like, like, I'm not gonna fight for you, like, if that makes any sense. Like, and then I would just slot back in with the Dave situation anyways. So when the votes were swinging, I thought, do you know what? I'm just gonna let Dave make a decision, and if he wants to go George, go George. If he wants to go Shani, go Shani. And so I kind of just sat back because I thought, this is like, let them battle it out,
Yeah. But then what about Sarah in that? Like, you've worked with Sarah before, you've worked against her before. Did you expect her to turn on Dave there? No. Because you had the most experience with her and she knows Dave as well. You had some mutual friend. You've all been friends. So that was shocking to me,
Yeah, that was shocking to me as well. So when it happened, I was like, damn, I thought even without George or with George, I thought, the votes would technically go the right way. But little did I know that, she had her reasons why she didn't want to take Georgia and wanted to swing on Dave. And, kudos to Sarah, because Sarah's the only one that could have made that move really happen. And, like people talk about the regret slide or whatever afterwards, because there was a bit shown post, but she still went on to play great, and she still, had her positioning in the tribe really well. There's lots of talk about, me and Janine turning on Sarah, or not turn on Sarah, but like leaking information to Kirby. But I didn't leak that. Like, you understand, I have multiple conversations with people when you sit there and say, if me and you and Shannon talk and be like, maybe we should do this and do that. And then you don't really engage in it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So when Jay actually went and, say the next vote or whatever to move forward and talk to, when she went forward to talk to Sarah, I didn't know that she went and did that. That happened at night time. I would have thought she would have pulled us both in and we would have done it together, So, so when I found out the Kirby situation, like us dobbing Sarah's, being not happy with Kirby's situation into Sarah's situation into Kirby, that wasn't like I hadn't acted on that. Like that was still like my little secret that we could have saved till later, or whatever. Yeah. But I think what it is Jay made the right decision for her at that time to go tell Kirby about it. But I think it was the mentality is like, I can also control Kirby, and, for instance, like the merge when Kirby went and, left and jumped over to World Tribe to take out Sarah, it was still that mentality was like, you don't want to join into a group of 4 here or 5, for instance, whatever, and take out Sarah because you'll just be in the minority, and other people can come together, or the same thing. I think I said to her, I was like, you will get voted out next and then I will get voted out. So I think it was the mentalities where you can kind of try to control the timing of when people would get people. But, I think, with that situation, it wasn't until, Kirby obviously had the information now that Sarah wasn't, happy with her. And then she acted, in her best interest to get that person out before. Because I think Janine's even said that maybe she thinks that, I had this thing where I was, favoring, going to head more down Kirby's side than Sarah's side. But at the same sentence, I wasn't. I was like, I'm just keeping them both in because they're both amazing options for me. If I wanted to swing left with Kirby or swing right with Sarah. But after the vote out with Sarah, I just realized that Kirby will get the numbers for the move she needs to make, even if you don't want to get involved. So there's no it wasn't like as Sarah said, it's like not a partnership. Sarah would have been probably better off, not maybe involving Janine and me into a conversation about her, mistrust with Kirby. If she just actually told me, I wouldn't have told Kirby, and I would have kept that for her. And then for the timings right, So because it's like one of those things, it's like when I was in traders and you go for 2 people at the same time and say, he's a trader and he's a trader. You never do that. You pick one, because that's where I feel like the mistake is if you're going to sit there and say to someone, I'm not happy with, say, being a partnership with Kirby anymore. As much as me and Jay were still together, we think different still. We work together and we we were definitely loyal, but we do still have our own thoughts and processes on how we want to move throughout the game. And so I think, maybe when Sarah gave us the heads up about the Kirby situation, because we were both there and then we both talked through it, I wasn't a part of telling Kirby, for instance, It wasn't until Kirby has obviously been told and she came up to me and was like, is Sarah trying to get me? And I was like, I don't know, maybe, but if she is, we can get her at a later point. But
yeah.
I don't think I'd have been able to turn on Sarah. It's like a weird one for me. It's like all the people that I don't think I could turn on, which actually got voted out without my help, so I never had to, weirdly enough. It is like a poetic thing that, I got out of the game without voting out Dave, without voting out Sarah, without voting out Kirby, you know what I mean? Yeah, or Janine. All the people that I just, I think it would be quite hard. It's like going down and writing Jericho's name on the parchment. I know the game's about, cutting people and things, but this is a little bit of a different game. I don't think it's like, the original season where there's 24 people and you don't know anyone, for instance. You're going in there and you know these people. But anyways, that's to give you an insight on that one,
I mean, I think you did great after the Dave vote, and George goes, and I feel like all those relationships came to the fore, and you really got kind of to the top of the tribe where you have, Kirby and Sarah's options. Obviously, you've gotten even tighter with Janine. You seem to have a good thing going with Shawnee as well. So when you get to the merge, if you had it your way, and with your hope just to go to Rocks and then just keep chugging it down Australia strong, what was the plan there at that point where you're voting against the World Tribe at the merge?
I just think that whether we go to Rocks or we just,
break them, hopefully they
vote
against each other.
Break them apart. Well, the thing is Kirby could have used that information to be like, look, I've got these guys or whatever. I just thought that we would go in some sort of strong. But again, the way the World Tribe were playing is exactly how I thought the Aussies might be more inclined to play. We would be tighter than the World Tribe on paper, because they've got all these players from different places that have never met, where I thought we would just generally have this is where it kind of stuffed up my thinking for the whole thing, because it's like if I went to the Olympics right now and we're doing say the running races, I'm just Aussie strong.
You're the only one, Luke. No one else cared about that but you. You were the only one with the Australian flag.
That's what I'm saying. So that's when you look back and you go, maybe that was a complete mistake. I should have just, played my idol for Dave right from the get-go, played the big flashy moves right from the get-go, because you know what? What's not broken, why change it? That's what's made me the last 2 seasons, and I've always found those moments where I've just gone, do you know what? I'm doing it. I know I could play it smart here and simple, but I'm going to sit there and just
blow it up.
Do something. And it's what's not broken, don't change it. But for me, I actually went in after seeing, all these, big guys, and I'm I want to win. I don't want to come second. I don't want to come third. And I've seen over and over the under the radar game is very important to sometimes getting to the end and managing that threat level. So that's a choice for me to play like that. That wasn't just me being Luke doesn't have the balls to do this, the balls to do that. It was no, I'm making a fucking educated survivor choice to be quiet here. And it's I know it's the not me, but I made it further than everyone. And so as much as I was Australia strong and I wanted to take control of the merge area and just pick on the way down. But I made a choice to play a bit of a quieter game and fly a little bit under the radar.
Well, one thing that really wasn't quiet was the auction. You sent Parvati away. I'd love to hear about the decision. And what did you know about Deal or No Deal Island? Had you known that David, you knew nothing about Deal or No Deal Island?
No, nothing about that. I knew Parv and Dave were really good. Close.
Okay. Did you know David won?
No, I didn't know he won.
They're so good with the spoilers.
Nah. All I knew is
You might have felt better about writing his name down if you knew that he'd won $9 million on Deal on Ocean Island.
Well, look, in that sense, but I would have been super happy for him. I don't even know how that would have affected my game. When I look back at it, I actually thought George was going to go anyways. So when that didn't happen again, I just knew that I was thinking a couple of times, I don't know how I'll go writing down Dave's name or how I'd feel playing my idol for Dave. And then later on down the track, if he had to stab me in the back, and there's game, but then there's also it's TV, and the moments. And I'm like, imagine if I played my idol, saved him, and then, 4 votes down, he had to make the decision to cut me or whatever. I'd be like,
you owe me $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? To be fair, he'd probably still have a bit to spare, even if
he'd have a lot. So, but you knew that he'd played with Parvati.
Yeah, I know. I had a good idea that them Parvati and him were close.
Right.
So naturally in my head, when it came to merge, I don't know any of them. So I've got my little connect in, Aussie tribe, but I'm trying to build the, the situation with the Americans. Now, to sit there and go, when you win the rocks and then you read it out, it says, can you send someone home back to camp? Because I knew Parvati and Dave had some sort of friendship, that was my initial thing. And I thought she would have, because I noticed the men had gone, I was like, she's going to have some sort of pull over there. And I'm going to try to send her back because she's the only one that would be, that I can believe that would be able to take it on the chin. And then through us talking about it, could probably play a game where people think we're pissed off at each other, but then we work together. So when we got back to the bench, when we walked back to the beach, she goes, we'll go for a chat. We went for a chat, and I was like, look, we can continue to keep it up that there's an issue between us, And I tried to do it with George, actually. After George, we turned on George the first vote. Same thing. But George wasn't having any of it. He was upset. I was like, George, listen. I was like, we can go back into camp. You can be saying, I'm pissed off at Luke, and I can be like, screw George, we can go him out, and then we could join up and do a move together. But he's like, no, he goes, we'd only be even if that happened. And I'm like, no, I'm saying we still work together. He's like, nah, he was upset after I did the old me and Cara and then tried to take him out, right?
You don't use Cara's name in vain with George.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried to pretend like me and him were like that, and then tried to take him out. So naturally, I was hoping that he would bounce back because I'm pretty good at that. If you even blindside me, I could come back and be like, no, it's all good. It's all game. And then I'm happy on, making moves in different ways. But because I don't get too emotional out there with the fact as if I get blindsided. As you can see, I got blindsided a few times and not once did I go back and be like, really upset and angry. It was always like, oh, how
it was like Curbs got toasted, goddamn. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'd go back and then I'd sit on the beach and I'm like, okay, I need to come up with a plan to get, because most people would just go, all right, well, then it would be Curbs, me, for instance, Shawnee. That's how it would normally go, right? You take the first vote and then you take out the henchman, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. And when that didn't happen, that's only because when I came back, I'm good at sewing up those issues straight away. I don't get butthurt and go sit by myself and be upset. And that's what good Survivor play is. Because I go back to Sari, and then who's Sari's name she voting out next? Shawnee over me, because I went back in there and I've just written her name down. So you got to understand, that's all from building up the relationships, and it was from building up the one with Parv. But I wouldn't have went with Parv and Sari. I would have went with the World Tribe if they really wanted to make a move. But they just did. You can't run we go to say that they were going to do a move. they say no, then we do another move, and then they say no, and then the third time they completely ice us out, don't invite us to the spa and say nothing to us. Naturally, it's like 3 times, like I've got to be smart enough that I've at least got options that I can swing back the other way.
Yeah. But what had the basis been of the relationships with the World Tribe? Because Parvati, you're going to get in there with her and make up with her, and you know, you have that David connection as well. Sari told me that she, you know, loves you, she gets you, she saw you. And then what about the Worlds? Because you and Tommy are like the only 2 guys. With Cass and with
Tommy,
Lisa, was it something there? Yeah, socially before it gets into the game of it all.
So my connection into the World Tribe was obviously when Kirby goes, for instance, then obviously me and Tommy realized we're like the last men standing.
Yeah.
And so we're like broing out. Like me and him were like, but he wouldn't give me, he's like, all I can do is keep your name out of the vote because I'm valuable to him, for instance. So he was definitely like, if there was my name was going to come up, he was keeping me out of the vote because I was valuable. Then on top of it, I had the thing with I was chatting with Parv because I voted her out of the auction. Now you got to understand with the Parv situation and her getting, you know, such a big reward. You know, again, she was doing the countdown. She didn't know there was going to be a reward back there. How did I know there was going to be like such a big reward? Like it probably wasn't. And you know, you can sit there and say, I vote Tommy out at that point, but me and Tommy haven't spoken, and so I don't know how much.
Yourself?
Pardon?
Well, see this.
I don't know. You know, when that only triggered to me after I went and sat back down on the bench.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, now I've sent Parv. And then I was like, and I'm sitting there with no money. And I was like, well, I should have tried to send myself. But at that time, I can only use the information that's available to me. And, you know, she's going to sit there and go, oh, there was this big rewards back at the camp. No one knows that, like truly. But when I was sitting there, I was actually sitting there thinking it takes another World Tribe off the thing with money to potentially bid on something that could be a reward. Who's to say the reward's underneath the food item, you know? And now I've taken out one of their persons to buy that, for instance. So, you know, again, it was still me thinking Aussie strong, and also thinking that I don't know if I sent another person back if they'll be able to handle being pissed off or not. So all I knew is I could use the fact is I'm mates with Dave, you're mates with Dave. Hopefully you've played enough Survivor that you're not going to get upset that I, you know, blah, blah, blah. And now people think we're against each other. Let's work together, for instance. So that was the thinking. That was all the thinking behind it. Little did I know that, you know, as again, you know, you got to be quick on your feet, right? And at that time, maybe I should have said, look, I've got no money. Send me back to camp, you know? And
but it was so poetic. You sent her to Jericho's cookies. Did she share those cookies with you when you guys were making up and rebuilding your relationship?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Were they covered in glass?
They were pretty bad. And I was talking smack. So even though she was sharing with me, in like my confessionals going like, I know she's sharing me cookies, but I still don't trust her for as far as I can throw her, you know, like it was just my way of like getting some sort of like in with the World Tribe, and using the David and Parv connection. Really, that was the main reasoning behind it.
What I was so sad about was that we never got to see you connect with Tony, who I know that you watched his clips before you went out and the Spy Shack and everything. Like, I feel like we were robbed. We got a little bit in like the challenges, but I really wanted to see that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what I kind of was missing out there a little bit is like having the one person where we actually like, you know, keeps it really together. Yeah, the shenanigans part of it, because normally I'd have Dave or Jericho, and but I didn't really.
Too stable.
Yeah, and Tommy would have been that, but we were getting along, but he wouldn't give me anything. All he could do was say, I'll keep your name off the vote, you know? And yeah, Janine's like, you know, love her, but she's very sensible, you know? And that's
Yeah.
like, and I can be very sensible, but at the same time, you know, like you give me the time and I can, you know, I can definitely enjoy being a bit more looser if, and that's what appeals, you know, the appeal was potentially maybe with the Sari and Palm because they were like, yeah, they're just extremely easy to get along with, you know. That's why they're so good at the game, and just in life, like they're just, you know. Look, to be honest, everyone was like Tommy was. I wish me and Tommy did something, but I think that for him sending Lisa to do the move, tell us about the move on potentially on taking out Parv. I think he should have just told me and said, "Look, I want to take Parv out at some point," and I would have been like, "All right, done. That's you've got me locked in." But I was always getting told that he can't really give me anything other than I'll just keep your name out of the table. So.
Yeah, because the vote before that, you and Janine are like, let's divide and conquer. She goes to Sari and to Parvati. She goes for Kirby. Kirby's going to go home. You are now with Shawnee. You've reconnected really well with Shawnee, and you're going for Sari with the world, which doesn't pan out. So what did you think Janine was doing? Did you know anything about this Kirby plan? Were you okay for Kirby to go there? Like, what was your thought process on that vote where you vote for Sari and the world don't back you up?
So I knew about it. She told me, but it was the fact is, and we had to separate. Like me and Janine had already made a decision that we were tied as. So it's like nearly going that, you know, because otherwise the train just keeps chugging where it would be technically me or Shawnee, whoever next. It would be Kirby. Then the World Tribe stays Chong. Then they take me. Then the World Tribe, you know, like that's how it would have went. The only way we really were able to do that is by completely dividing. So when I went to the World Tribe, I was like, no, I'm out. Like all the Aussies. I'm not saying Janine's not a part of this. Like, you know, I was like, I linked up with, because everyone started seeing me and Janine as a you know, tight thing. You need to break that. The only way how are you going to create a lie when people see straight through it, Shan? Like when you're sitting there creating these lies, it's like George going up there and going, oh, I've done this and I've done this and you're just going to vote for each other. And you're just like, the whole time you're sitting there thinking like delusional. Like we've all sat together and we're all voting you out. Like the George vote was us coming together to all vote George out. But when one person's doing that, like I give him credit because his confidence is like unbelievable. And it does, look what it does. It does put doubt in people's mind when it comes to strategy. But at that time, it was just like, he didn't want to work with me, you know, and because obviously what I did to him in the first vote. So the situation with me and Janine to go forward is we had to separate. Like it was like you have to completely. That's what divide and conquer is. It means like see you later. Good luck with your plan. I'm going over here to do my plan. And because even if she goes, we're all voting Kirby, that could be a lie. So, for instance, like that's why we need to swing votes on another person. So then the next tribal, you can actually go, we 100% thought we'll go on this way. There, you know, for instance, like you stick to that lie, you know?
Yeah. So, because the world could have been going with you, and then Sari's out, you know, so you have plan A and plan B there.
You got two plans. So one's going to work. And even if Janine's going, oh, it's Kirby, I could be like, they're lying to you. It's actually Sari over here. But I was the one really pushing the Sari name because I had to make it believable. And the only believable way was Shawnee was happy to join up with me. I was tight with Tommy. And if Shawnee went for Parv, they probably wouldn't believe it. So that's why I was like coming up with the move. I was like, Shonny won't go for Parv. Now, I didn't even speak to Shonny about Parv, but I was like, Shonny would take out Sari because she just did a move with Parv, you know, and they were like, oh, okay, you know, but obviously there's no way they would have taken out Sari, like zero chance.
Yeah.
But I used it against Sari to say they were coming for you, you know?
Yeah. How did you feel about Kirby going? Because she had broken up the Australians. You weren't happy about that, but you have a relationship with Kirby. She is an Australian. So, like, and you hadn't voted for her. So, how did you feel about the fact that she had left the game at that point?
I think Kirby maybe ruined her own game, to be honest. I think me and Janine and Sarah and her could have really went down to Final Four if she just, you know, didn't swing in. I know that she wanted to swing in at Sarah, you know, for that reason. But again, like, you know, my intention was not to really have much. I still wanted to stay Australia strong. So, like, she went out next, right? Did I say she would get voted out next? Like, you know, like it happened. And whether it would be like, it's like this mentality, it's like, it's going to happen because I'll make it happen, you know? So it's like, if you do this move, you will be out next. And I'll be like, well, why? It's like, because I will make it happen. Like, that's the mentality. It's like, because you're then making my game and everyone else's game, you know, hard. And I actually think, like, if she stayed strong, maybe pretended to do that move, she would have had much more loyalty with me and Janine than she would have had with Sari and Parv. Like, it's like me going to my enemy's house right now and going, hey, let's all hang out, but then I'll not play with my friends that I've grown up with for the rest of my life. You know, that's how I kind of felt. I was like, you've just jumped over into the enemy's territory to make a move on Sarah when you already had potentially me and Janine that would have told you when Sarah's coming for you. So
yeah,
that's when I realized, I was like, screw the Aussies. Like, you know, the Aussie shit for me was out the window.
Yeah. Would you have put her name out there yourself?
I did.
Name out there. Oh, you did.
Okay.
I
did. Yeah, I put everyone's. I said any of the Aussies. I was over in the World Tribe going anyone. Yeah. I'll take any Aussie. Like, I'll, like, legit. Like, that's why that was my only way in, to be like, I'm with you, Cass, Lisa, and Tommy now. It's us four. Like,
yeah.
And so that's why I was like, I'll go to Sari, whoever you just want to go. But, you know, me choosing an Aussie name with Shonny in the next tribal wouldn't have actually worked that well, I don't think. I think the idea is you need to break up the world tribe still, you know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how tight they were.
Yeah. So you're going to put out Sari's name, vote for her, and then very quickly get locked into a 4-person alliance with Sari and Parvati that is so tight and is like going to navigate this whole end game. How does that happen? Like, how does it get to that point?
Because the internationals decided to be so loyal to Parv and Sari. They decided to choose them over me and Shonny.
Right.
They completely outcast you, Shan. You know, like they you can only sit there and beg to play with an alliance for so long until you throw it back in their face, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think it was just like if Tommy came up to me last second and said, dude, we've got the numbers to go Parv, that would have held much more weight than Lisa. Like, for Lisa to come up and do the old right at the last second, they didn't vote with us on the first one. They didn't vote with us on the second. And then like, they didn't even let me in, you know what I mean? They were like stayed to the fact of the Sari name with me, Sari name. And then that's fine. But when they finally didn't take one of us to the spa, then arrived back from the spa, pretty much would have said hello for 2 seconds, then walked off, and then sat in their own groups for about an hour. And then, like, the last 5 minutes before the end, Lisa comes over and goes, we're going to do a move on Parv, and I'm not going to be involved in it. that was like, you know, Shani was actually keen on doing it. Like, she was like, maybe we should, you know? And I'm like, nah, screw that. I was like, I'm not voting that way now. Like, they've just done the last minute thing on me. But if Tommy came up to me and was like, look, bro, I've got the numbers to do something, I probably would have been like, all right, Sean, let's do it.
Right.
Let's take out Pav, or let's take out whoever they wanted.
Yeah. I get it at 8, but, you know, and then the double tribal goes through 7. You're immune at 7, 6, and 5, and you have your idol. Like, you, I think, have so much power through this end game. You're working with, like, Shani would want to work with you. You've had that relationship. You've had Pav and Suri. You have Janine. You have an idol. You're immune 3 times. Did you ever consider using that to try take the shot on Parvati and or Suri at 7 and the double tribal 6 and 5 when Tommy, Lisa, and then Shani are going to go instead?
Yeah, so the issue with that is when I got back and Lisa had said she wanted to quit, that held too much weight for me that I had actually gone up to Pav and said, listen, Pav, for me, I don't like it when people say they quit, because now you're just going to be that person that just gets dragged to the end and they sit next to the end and they get to experience the whole rest of the game, like, you know, for instance. And I was not happy with that. So I said to Pav, I said, look, I could easily try and take you out on the next one, or you could take me out. I said, let's just put our swords down, knives down for everything. And let's get the person who said that they wanted to quit out of the game. And unfortunately, that's probably the perfect time is when I would have swung on Pav, because she had 2 more votes with an idol, and I knew she had the idol. We had 2 votes to take her out, for instance, there. That was my thing. Now, when she ripped up the parchment, in every aspect of my game is I wanted to go rip up the parchment, then blindside her. But that happened to be the vote on Lisa, when I just said, let's just put our knives down and take out Lisa, because one, Lisa's, I wouldn't have been happy for the finale and just say you said you want to quit, and then it's like you're the next vote you're in there, and the next vote you're in there, next vote, and you're sitting in the final 3. I'm like, that's unfair. Like, I was in there when she said she wanted to quit. I said, let her go. Let the game continue organically. You know, and I like Lisa. Like, Lisa might not like me, but at the same time, I just believe that it's like there's this thing where I think if you quit or you say the words I want to quit, I think like it stuck with me more than the game itself, where I was like, and so when I was having the chat with her and she's like, I want you or Pav out, for instance. Then on top of it, I said to Pav, let's just lay down the things and get her out, because then the game can continue organically. I knew I was shooting myself in the foot a little bit with that, because that would have been the perfect opportunity to take Pav out. Yeah. Just then. I would have get him to rip up the thing. Then I would have just went up to Shani and, told Janine, oh, listen, you owe me one. We're swinging on Pav now. But I've just pretty much said for us to lay our swords down and get the quitter out of the game so the game can continue. But when I look back at the footage of the quitting and the situation, I feel bad, because I think when you put it in the context of when Lisa was what she was trying to do, I think it's very like a nice thing, you know. It was like a nice thing, but I was looking at it more of a you shouldn't be in the game once you said that, because now it makes it awkward for us to, like, I could easily go put the knives down for me and Pav for the authentic it being authentic of the game, and then get her to rip her and then blindside her with that information. That's like, I feel like that's a little bit too much.
That's a lot.
You know, that's like, I feel like, that's like me being a complete, like, I think a piece of shit. And I think when I'm using the actual game, the authentic part of the game, against Pav to take her out after she rips up her thing, like, I just think, like, I just couldn't do it. Like, I've just done the fact that Lisa said she didn't want to be there. But when you look back, it's like, she was trying to do it for Tommy and certain things. And I feel bad for that situation, how it all, unfolded. Because if she didn't say those words, I probably wouldn't have,
Right.
That's why in the tribal, I was actually saying, Jonathan, let her go now. She should be gone, from the game. And then they said, we'll still be doing a vote out. And
yeah. Parvati once got someone to give up his immunity necklace and then called him the dumbest survivor of all time and then voted him out. So, people do a lot in this game.
Oh, totally. And that's what I'm saying is maybe I should have, got her to go, listen, we need to vote out, say the person who said the Q word. And then she falls into a bit of like a safety net, rips up the idol, and then I voted her out. That's what was the moment we ripped her up, all I thought about was this is my moment to vote her out. I voted her out right here. She's got her idol for her next vote. But I don't know. It was it plays on your conscience a little bit, where it's I think it's a little bit too snaky for my liking.
It's very snaky. What about the final 7 when your mate Tommy comes to you and you've had the relationship with Tommy and he wants to go for them and you're going to vote Tommy out? Was there anything there? I mean, you wanted to take out Lisa, I think, instead of Tommy, but was there anything about swinging on a Parvati or Sari there, which is what Tommy is trying to do? That's
why I went up and had the little chat.
Yeah.
Because, but Janine said to me, she was like, no, it has to be, this shows you how tight Janine had fallen into the connect with Parv and Sari, is because she pretty much half stopped me wanting to do a move. Yeah, okay. So she, when we were at the back, kinda, didn't want to make a move on Sari and Parv because she said, let's take Tommy. It means you win all the immunities, right? And I was like, but in my head, I was like, I'm tight with Tommy out of the lot. And, if Janine's not going to make the move, I've just thrown Lisa under the bus. She's not going to make a move. It's only going to be me and Shani that are going to be able to swing in on Parv right now. And even if I got up and played an idol for Tommy, then Parv would play her idol for herself. So the only thing I feel like I regret doing was either strong arm and Janine at that point, because it is what I wanted. But at the same time, she did make a good point to say, you win all the immunities from here. And so that kind of made me go, yeah, okay, I will be the last man standing and I'll probably have a good chance of winning these immunities. But the only thing I swear I should have done is said, if that's the case, we're not swinging now because she said no. Let's pretend it's Parv so we can at least flush her idol, for instance, or flush something. When I look back, it's they're probably the moves I didn't do, which was get to flush, try to flush the items. So yeah, look, you can't play everything exactly perfect, but at the same time, it's I would have been more inclined. That's why we got up, me, Shani, and Tommy, and Janine. But Janine was nah, keep it simple. You're going to win all immunities, and and it's hard to, as I said, it's nearly like I should have just strong-armed or tried to cash in that favor earlier for a move. So it was kind of yeah, we've all just had the big crazy move. Now let's just settle it a bit. But at the same time, it's I don't know here. This is, I'm starting to miss out on the big move, I'm starting to slowly kind of feel like I'm cutting myself short. And I'm, you got to understand, I'm still trying to play an under the radar game to some degree. I still feel like there was people like Lisa, that was, and even Sari, even though they were playing, they're very quiet and chill about their moves. And I used to struggle with the Lisa situation because I had watched her season and I know that she can be cutthroat. She she plays like a very like what I felt like is like a kind of like a Pia Miranda, could be like very nice and then completely cutthroat when it needed to be. So when we have these moments, I'm like, nah, she's got a bit of spice to her when she wants to pull it out, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't know how conscious or unconscious this would have been for you, but I feel like you must have been on some level burnt by playing 2 seasons as like the loudest guy on the season, pretty much, doing like the big moves and then like always getting cut before the end. Like there must have been some sort of trauma related to,
Definitely.
if I do that, then do I get cut? Then I don't even get to the end. And that's been your experience on 2 seasons of the show.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying I actually tried to fall into the little bit of an under the radar game. That's why I was the last male. That's why I was able to like still use my social connects. Like, to be fair, it was a total different game that I've ever played. And do you know what? If it's if you can't get to the end or you can't win for whatever reason, it's smart like to change just tact. You know, like it shows that I've got like different like ways of playing. Like I can sit there and be super quiet, use the social, or I can sit there and, you know, do some crazy stuff at 5 and do this and do that. At the same sentence, I'm kind of like, you know, I found my bestie in Janine. I still had Sarah that I knew that I would have went all the way to the end with. Kirby, I would have went all the way to the end. But like when all that kind of turned to shit, that's when I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm you know, I should have even like maybe even cut like gone just to be a point where I was just, because even I was still playing for Janine as well, you know, like it was like we're both, where I should have just kind of gone just straight from I'm playing for number 1 here and, you know, and built the resume and do whatever. But at the same time, I was like, I'll just do that and then get cut just like on my last seasons.
Yeah.
Like,
but what about the final 5? Like
yeah, the final 5. Yeah, so that's probably the biggest regret. That one is that's probably the biggest regret over the you know, as in like when I say regret, it's like sliding doors moments.
Yeah.
Where I was like, you know, in the end I was still in a good position because you hadn't seen, but for multiple votes when I had the necklace and, you know, when we took out Lisa and kind of, you know, started going down that route, I kept going, I am not afraid to sit next to Parv. Like, I'm not afraid to sit next to no one. So I was trying to make it out like you know, because otherwise then at some point you've got to like kind of say if she's up here, I'm coming up, you know, like I'm coming for that. So it's like the whole time and then the necklaces and then being on the right side of the votes and stuff like that. It was just like my game was just missing that one big move, you know, which was the final 5, for instance, you know. And you got to understand is when I was there, I feel like the mistake I made is I pulled my idol out because it was this, and then I put it around my neck. Because when I had that, I was like, and then I was tapping Shani on the leg because I was going to play it for her. And then it wasn't until, I can't remember how the votes and stuff started going, but then I was like, this is where I'll fuck up and do a big move and get voted out, you know, and just like normal, like it's happened to me twice now. And I'm like, and for me, you got to understand, it actually takes probably more poise for me to not do the big move than it is to do the big move. For instance, like it's harder sometimes for me to stay quiet and not do it than be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Like this is going to be mad, you know? So when it was like me maturing, I feel like to some degree, feeling like don't do it because it might ruin your chances of getting to the end. Where at the time I should have just gone up there, written Cerise's name down or Parv's, whatever, and played the idol for Shawnee like I was going to. Because then I would have sat there at in the tribal council wearing nothing, and then, for instance, the Cerese goes home. So that was where it was at the whole time. But then I was like, you got to understand, what's the worst case scenario, Shannon? What's the worst case scenario of that?
that you go home after you've just protected everyone but you. Yeah.
Exactly.
If Parvati throws the vote. Yeah.
Now you got to understand. So that is like a little thing in my mind. It's like, dude, if I do this, I'm going to look like the dumbest person ever because I've just given everything away because I want this. Once again, Luke with the big flashy move and to hand everything away, and then Luke gets voted off and goes home. So you got to understand there's the consequences and there's the glory, you know? And in a game like this, on a 14-day game, and I've been on the probably the chiller side for so long, I was like, who's to say like I can't beat Parv? If it was me and Parv on just a standing log challenge, right? For like when it didn't go down to the tiny little things, who's to say I could have sat on there till I died? But when it went down to a tiny little needle, I'm like, well, that's a little bit different for me. If you're going to talk about just being uncomfortable and being able to move and find different things, like it's going to be someone shits himself up there, whoever. Like like, I don't know, but I'm going to be confident in the fact that I don't know what the last challenge is, And, in the end, I gave it my all, and again, like I thought the speech, like again, like I could have probably done better with the speech and handled that a bit better, but. Look, in the end, I just try to have as much fun out there, and I like to play with the people that I like to have fun with. So at the time, Parv was, like she was fun. Cerise, fucking amazing. Like everyone was fun, but at the same time, like you just, you like to that mentality of taking out Parv before Lisa. Considering the conversations and the situation where she wanted me out anyways, like I've chosen to take out someone that at the bottom rather than the top at that point over certain conversations. And if I was able to say talk really well in the final, say for instance, and I won over Parv, for instance, whatever, I'm not saying it would have, but and I did the little move at the final five, like that's where you'd want to be. Like that's how I wanted to sit. I want to sit, try to like have a crack at, who had played a good game, and at the same time, I took, I ended up at the end with my bestie, in the game. So it's you got to remember there's a lot of emotions out there as well. Like that's what I was saying about write down Dave's name and. Say if I had to write down Sarah's name or something like that, it's like it's a little bit different of a game for me, And if I could play it back again, maybe I would just be like, yeah, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you know what I mean? For instance, and get everyone out. But at the same time, it's like, if I couldn't win, I would wanted Sarah to win, or if I wanted to win, I wanted Dave to win. If I wanted to win, I wanted Kirby to win. So it was like, or Janine. So it's a little bit different, thought process to playing with your friends,
Yeah. And I think the big thing for you seems to be 2 seasons of trauma of almost winning. And I think like in 2017, like the big moves did put you out there, and the 3-2-2-2, you go home shortly after that. But I don't think in 2019, like you making big moves is what doomed you. Like, I think you made big moves when you needed to, at the swap when you and Dave were in trouble, and at the final 5. And I just think you were Luke. I don't think it was anything you did. I think it was who you were. Like, you came in there as a people's champion. Like, I don't think that you made 2 big moves in 2019 and then, but I feel like that trauma and that, like, that was in your kind of consciousness at that point about, like, how do I not go out right before the end again when I would win if I get to the end?
Well, it's the idea is how do I not be the same? But as I said, if it's not broken, why change it? If I did say win that last challenge, maybe I would have went on to win the game, for instance. But on this one, the same thing. Like I went in there, I was like, I'm going to play the idol for Shani. I was tapping her on the leg, like I was locked in, and then somewhere in that tribal, the sensible part of, Janine probably watched over me, was like, just do the sensible thing, Luke, and play it for yourself.
Which is because if you.
That's what I'm saying. But you are your environment, So if I'm sitting there with you and we're going out and you're like, don't do that, that's stupid, don't do this, that's stupid, or like, for instance, like that, you're going to just start being like less yourself a little bit. Not less yourself, but you be more like reserved. Like you're just like, yep, okay, I'll do the smart thing. And the smart thing is play the idol for myself, for instance, isn't it? That's the smart thing. But then there's the me just wanting to be me, being like, nah, fuck this, have that, that's the me. But I tried to adjust and change. And look, in the end, I did the one thing that I said that I never, ever wanted to do, which was like both seasons, I feel like if I was going to get to the end, I feel like there's a good chance I'll win. Definitely. And this season, I knew when I kind of got to the end, I was against it. I was against a fight. Like I had a fight up against my hands rather than me just getting to the end going, oh, I'm going to wipe the floor here. And that came from, you got to understand, like 3 votes of potential, fighting from the bottom, and fighting from the bottom is not pretty. Like, like to sit there and think that you can sit there and go, call the shots. Like you don't get to call the shots, Shane. You have to like create the crack, right? And that was crack was me and Janine knowing that we're not in a good spot here, because if Janine didn't find the crack with Sari and Pav, and I didn't swing on the others to then open it right up with the 2, it probably would have been me going home at some point. Like if the World Tribe just stayed strong, like, so it was like, because after Curbs, they're just going to pick down the line. They even said they were going to stay world strong, At least I had good connections with nearly everyone. But yeah, again, it was, the sliding door moments and stuff. I think that sometimes the sensible option is not always the best option.
But I think it's true what you said as well. Like you didn't have safety until the final 8. Like you couldn't breathe until coming out of that double tribal and actually having a group the entire time since Dave went in the entire game. Like you found sanctuary that probably didn't feel very nice to blow up, because you finally like had something where you could actually like hang your hat up for a little bit. And I definitely get that mentally as well. But then like looking at the votes, like who had you hoped to get in the jury? Like who were you hoping would be, because as you said, Pav was big competition, but who were you hoping you'd get?
Well, I kind of knew that, as I said, that it was that Shani one where I just knew I wanted to have the big move. And so when it was like, you got to understand, when your head is like, I'm going to give away all my shit, do the big move, vote out Sari, and then I was going to roll into the challenge. And for instance, if I win the challenge, happy days. If I don't, like I got the fire option, right? But there was as I said, it was like, there was that moment where I was like, oh my God, if I give everything away just as I was about to vote, like I think it was a little bit like, when you have an out-of-body experience, you're looking back at yourself when you're sitting on the chair and you're giving everything away and then you get voted out. So that that's when I was like, oh my God, do the sensible thing. And then I pulled back on that thing and obviously took Shani out. And when you look at it poetically, it's like the whole time I was Aussie strong. All I cared about is for Aussie winning. Like all I wanted was an Aussie winning. Like really, that's what I wanted. And then the one time I have a chance to save an Aussie, which would be Shani, I don't do it. And potentially that was my moment where I was like, that's when I would have walked into the final tribal going, I gave everything away. I was in control. Like you don't, because in the end, when there's a boxing fight and there's 12 rounds, and say the first person beats up the other for the 6 rounds, and then the other person beats up that person for the other 6 rounds, who are you going to vote to win? The person who's winning at the end of a fight, not the person that's won the first 6 rounds, right? Because it's the end of the fight, and I felt like that would have been my story, to be like, yeah, I got knocked around in the first 6 rounds, but then I've taken control from 6 rounds onwards, given everything away. I had no problem taking Pav, whatever it happened to be Pav. And then all of a sudden, like, she had to play a quieter game to hopefully stay in because of me, you know, for instance. Like, so I definitely felt like I wanted a showdown as well. Like I did tell Pav, that's when I said about cutting Lisa and stuff. I was like, I know at some point you're going to be hard to beat, but like I knew that was the time where I could have swung on Pav, as I said, with the cutting up the thing. But I had to get Lisa out, unfortunately. And it was all about the Q word, you know. And unfortunately, it's like I feel bad because when you look back on it, I feel, you know, she had her reasons, and I understand her reasons. You know, but when I was out there, I didn't look at it as that. I looked at it as the fact that now she's going to be dragged to the end by every single player here, and that's unfair. Like we want a showdown. Like, you know, I want to go down. It's the best of the world. It's the first ever one. I want a winner that's like, you know, like tried to have a crack, you know. So who
were the votes that you were surprised you didn't get? That you get Sarah, obviously. Like, who else had you wanted to get against Parvati?
I think if I articulated and I got that final 5 thing, I think I definitely feel like I could have maybe swung. Well, I was hoping to get the Aussies, so obviously Shani, hopefully Curbs and Sarah, and then Tommy and Cass was an up in the air. You know, I didn't know I didn't know them that well to be like, are they going to be pissed off that, you know, she got to play an idol for it? Like, how am I supposed to understand exactly their thought process on, you know, the way that being able to give someone an idol? Because I was pitching this. It's easy, Shannon, it's easy to blindside a loyal friend, right? It's harder to take down the opposite team, which you have when there's like a team against team, for instance. So, you know, say for instance, for me to just blindside Janine, how easy would that be? Like we're walking through this game feeling like we've got each other's back. So like you can sit there and go, oh, that's an amazing move to blindside your friend. But at the same time, it's like, is it that hard to, but like, you know, like, is it really that hard to?
Yeah.
So I kind of was like thinking that there's a good chance, look, if I speak really well, sometimes I've done like a keynote and I'm on. Like, I'm like fucking working the room. Like, I'm like cracking jokes left, right, and center. I think my speech, I wasn't on. Like, I felt off. Like, I didn't find my momentum. Because that's what I need sometimes is momentum. And then once I get going, I'm good. But I just feel like my speech was a bit off. And but again, like I don't feel like I'm going to like I think beat myself up because I came, for instance, like, you know, I didn't do the crazy move or I didn't do this. Like my intention at the time was to play an under the radar game because of the other big people that want to, with the big egos and the big, you know, and let them make their moves and however they want to do what they want to do. So I actually made a choice to do that. Yeah. So when you make a choice to do it, it's like you can't blame your choice because you didn't decide to play a big bad, a big crazy game.
Yeah. I feel like a point of contention between you and Pav, or like, you know, there was like, you got her to break up the idol stealer, but she was like, no, but then you didn't vote me out. As you said, you'd wanted to do that to vote her out. So how did you kind of see that debate in the final tribal council against her about the idol stealer?
Well, again, it was the breaking it down because of the quit, you know, that we'd made a decision to put all our knives down, to not, you know, go through with any blindsides, would you say, for that round, as I said, to get Lisa out. So I think, you know, like it's hard to, what's the word, put that into words exactly as well. You know, when you do look back and you go, you know, when I sent her back from the auction, that was still an argument. But at the same time, her thought process was exactly the same as mine. She wanted to stay in the auction. You know, it was like you've got the same thought processes, you know, and because it works out for one person, it doesn't work for the other, then it's like, oh, that person's a dick and that person's smart, for instance, you know. The idea is she played a great game. Like when I seen her, you know, really when she felt under pressure, she jumped at the right time over to the Aussies, and she knew that she had Janine. She technically had 3 now because Janine was extremely tight with them and she didn't want to really turn on them. So I was now playing in that group of 4, but I was also, you know, say for instance, if I was going to make a move, it's like all on me, you know. It's not like I'm bringing Janine in to potentially make a move on Sari and Parv. So that's why I was, you know, utilising Shani. But, you know, for me to save Shani at the end, the final 5, and then take it, the thing and Sari, as I said, the worst case scenario was me going home and then I look stupid. And then on top of it, I would save Shani. That probably wouldn't let me go to fire, for instance, in the real world if Jay wasn't there. And then I'm like, so I played the sensible game. Did it win me the game? No. But did it get me to the final? Yeah. Like, so, and it took me there with my bestie. So,
yeah.
When I come to the speeches, we've seen people win the game off their speech, for instance. You know, so, yeah, maybe I could have said a few things that, you know, maybe would have highlighted the fact that I was sitting at the end with Janine and Parv wanted to sit at the end with Sari, and look where you are. Imagine if it was a final 2 right now. Like, you know, it was like I still took my bestie all the way to the end and you didn't. Like, and there was another thing that was getting I remember sitting there when she was talking, and I like, you know, when someone's talking but you've got a thought in your head and you're like trying to listen but you're trying to remember your thought to say something. And I remember sitting there like the whole time, and it was probably when I probably could have rebuffed back at her at something, but I remember holding on to something, and I was like, make sure you say that she didn't want to sit next to you at the end, remember. Like they voted me, tried to vote me out. They didn't try to sit next to me over Janine. You just wanted me out.
Yeah.
That's what you did, but you just couldn't get me because I still won fire and I'm still here.
Great point.
You're going to sit there and go, yep, you voted correctly. Like, that's, like, congrats. Like, it is a great thing. Like, she, as I said, Parv, fucking one of the best, well, she is the best player, right? Now she is the best player. But easily, you can see why she's so good out there. And, you know, as I said, and then, like, say if Sari was at the end over Parv, like, who knows? Like the way I was looking at it was like, everyone's great out here. Everyone, you know, and I know you can sit down and break it down to every single move of the season, but yeah, like I think I can argue it a little bit better.
Yeah. What about like a Shani? I feel like your relationship with Shani was so interesting. Like you're kind of together at the beginning, on and off, and you come back together, and then she kind of falls away, and then she doesn't vote for you. Like, I'm just interested in how it got. Like, I can imagine you would have expected Shani's vote.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, but you know, as I said, like Parv did a really good job at the final tribal and the speech, and she was, you know, I even like tried to put it to Shani. I was like, Shani, if you were here, you have played a very similar game to me in a way where you were a bit of the underdog. Like your name at times was brought up. You jumped over from different to different. Like, so if you're going to vote for someone that's like yourself, which is the underdog game, well, I'm the underdog game. Like, you want me to be sitting up there and give you my vote, for instance? But Parv just did a great thing to just come through with like the stats type of situation. And, you know, the fact that she was able to blind, like, you know, Shannon, how good is it when you get a player, like I've been able to do it, is you vote someone out and they still want you to win and they don't get upset, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of seasons aren't like that. You can vote someone out and then they get shitty. you know. And I feel like anytime I've voted people out over the last 3 seasons, they still go, fuck, well, I want Luke to win. You know, Parv does the exact same thing. You got to understand. And not many players can actually have that. You know, Dave does the exact same thing. Not everyone has that exact same ability to vote someone out and then for those people to be voted out to go, I want that person to win. You know, it doesn't matter how bad a fashion it was. I think my problem is I gave too much respect out there in the fact that the respect of feeling bad to vote someone out because they were my friend. Like I would have struggled to write out Sarah's name or would have struggled to write out Dave's name. But I think deep down when I look at it, it's like they would have more appreciated it, or they would have been like, that's a good move, or that's, you know. So I kind of like I struggled to separate those. That's why I felt so bad even voting Shonny out, you know, and because I was like, because I knew like if I can't win, I wanted Shonny to win, you know, and I wanted like, you know, she's just had a baby, she's played 4 times. Like if there's anyone that could win, like I'd like her to win, you know, like she's put so much skin into the game and, you know, like, and come up short. And same thing with Sarah and Curbs. Like I would have loved, like, it's like I want to see my friend at the top of the stadium winning it. So the World Tribe, like it didn't bother, like I didn't care too much if any of the World Tribe members won, weirdly enough, until I kind of started swinging back from the Aussies. And I was like, well, if I'm going to have someone win, I was like, I'll go against someone that I think would be a good representation of the game, you know, which is, you know, and Parv took it out. Like, you know, she's an all-rounder. She's good at everything when it comes to the game. She can be cutthroat. She's good at strategy. She's good at challenges. You know, so, and, you know, when I sit there and say that, you know, they ask you the questions, they go, oh, what does Survivor mean to you or something? And I'm like, I like crabs, like that fucking stupid ass. But I think the mentality was like, Survivor's, you know, when we came into it, it was a 55-day game. You know, there was survival aspects to Survivor. You know, it was like you're out fishing, you're out setting traps. Like certain people can see different things, aspects for the game. And that was like an important part for me, you know, is being out and being able to live off the land a little bit. So that was my mentality about it because, you know, I'm always like proactive with, you know, say for instance, the survival stuff of it. But again, you know, that question could have been answered 10 times, you know, better for me, you know, but I just, yeah, as I said, like I've gone out there when my daughter's been unwell, like, you know, like I've come back and I'm having to do it my own Survivor shit in the hospital type of stuff. So like, you know, winning's important, right? Winning's important. Like, but like just because you don't win, it doesn't mean that like you're anything less. You know, like this for all the players that have played and come second and come third. Like, yous have worked out their way to get to the end, and like I just think for the first World Tribe thing, I wanted to like sit on the pegs or go against the challenge against, you know, for instance, like people that I was enjoying playing the game with, like. You know, yeah, I could, you know, say, imagine if I won on that final challenge, you know, then it would have definitely been the swing in to take Parv. You know, maybe there would have been the vote out earlier to take Parv. But again, like I'm not going to be unhappy that she beat me at the final challenge because I thought that, she could beat me. It was like, let's have a crack, you know. I'm always about having a crack, you know. Put me up against anyone, anywhere, anytime. I don't care how big, small, I'll still like have a crack, you know. And I think that's what it's always been about. You know, if it wasn't Parv, I would have loved to see Suri at the end, you know, because we did end up having this 4 that unfortunately for me, Sari, and Janine, because we all lost to the 4 and one of the 4 won, it could have swung any way, say, for instance, in the last few votes. You just, and which that is the under the radar game, is you play it quiet, chill until the time comes. And I had my time, I think, to maybe do the cool move, have the big resume move on by taking out Sari or Pav, say, in that final 5. And for instance, that sliding door moment, I did the old sensible thing, as Janine would say,
Yeah. And Janine gave you fire. Did you ever doubt for 1 second that she might vote you out there at the final 4, or was that the kind of game that you relied on where you knew she was giving it to you?
I think if I saved Shani, she wouldn't have. That's how I felt. Because she wanted Shani out, and Shani had been wanting her out. So it was like, I don't think, I don't know, you'd have to ask Jay, but I think that if I save Shani, I think that there's a good chance she might have just gone, yeah, nah. So.
And then you're relying on Shani to give you fire.
Yeah.
And voting out Pav or Sari, whoever's there. Right.
But, I even thought about at the time, I was like, nah, because obviously all these little things run through your head. I was like, all right, the big move would be taking out Janine here, but then I know Shani won't give me fire. Just as a crazy, there you go, there's your big
That would be very crazy. That would be too crazy. That would be too much.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, but that was a thing, and I was like, nah, and then I was like, if I save Shani here, Jane might not let me go to fire, and I'm like, look, it's sliding door moments you have out there, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't, but I definitely tried to play a total different game which was the under the radar game, and not making the big moves and playing the idol, for someone. I actually, in my head, I was thinking about not even playing the idol and just wearing it at my final speech. But then again, is someone going to look at that and go, well, that's stupid, you should have played that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're sitting at the end with an idol around your neck that you haven't played or done a big move with, when you could have. And I was like, yeah, but I could have. That's the whole point of it, But I think after playing this season and seeing how it kind of goes, I think I'll probably just ever go back to my own big move-itis, or, back to the, situation where I just kind of I was, as I said, about being, if I see my friends on reality shows, about worried about actually turning on them. That's actually it's actually, maybe it's easy for other people, but for me, it's maybe it is a little bit harder. Even though I know that's the concept of the game, I just found it. I find it a little bit harder. I think I like people too much, maybe.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, and look, if to be fair, it was nice to just get to the end and just have a little bit of a taste of what I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it recalibrates your sense of the game, because there was so much trauma of losing one type of way. And maybe it should validate ways you've played in the past. It seems like you took on so much about why you didn't win before, when maybe that wasn't your fault. Maybe the game did the deck's just against you sometimes. I think if it shows you that, I should have zigged when I zagged, but now I've zagged and I still didn't win. It's well, maybe you I think you were taking on so much of why you'd lost before, and maybe this actually gives you grace that, you didn't have to be as hard on yourself as you seem to have been on those prior losses.
Yeah, I think as well, it's just it was I got caught up in the Australian, really the Aussie and an Aussie to win, and that mentality, and I kind of maybe should have been a bit more selfish on the fact that I needed a big move, or I needed to do this for my game, and not saving someone or doing this. I as I said, I kind of if you don't change nothing, and if I've lost twice, well, then I'm an idiot for just keeping the same strategy, which is like doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. I like to think I learn from my mistakes, and if I can't, I'll change a few things, and that was my change, I guess, and it got me to the end. And again, if I had maybe played my hand better on that final 5 and got Parv out or got Suri out, well, then you could be looking at the world's best, Shan, and it all comes down to a moment in time. But you can't, you got to understand, there's so many social connections out there. It's like even the Parv situation, people were saying, oh, Suri couldn't have beat Parv at the end, but they get to the end and Suri talks amazing, and everything that Parv does, she could claim, and it's how you're feeling at the time, maybe, no one's seen Suri win and she's given so much skin in the game, and you're like, no, I'm going to give it to Suri because Parv shouldn't have taken her there, for instance,
Yeah.
But then she wanted to take her there because they mean so much to each other, and so that's why it's a little bit, it's a, it's a tough one, because you're talking about 20 years of friendship, or, you're talking but again, I think when I look back on it, it's like the friendships need to be completely left off the table when you walk into the game. But it's easier said than done,
Yeah. Do you think about it, if you lost at Fire and you're a juror and it's Janine, your bestie, Suri and Parvati, have you given much thought to where your vote goes in that case?
Yeah, Janine's getting my vote.
Yeah. But then if it's a tie, if you have to vote again, between Parvati and Suri, you'd be pretty open.
I'd be pretty open. Yeah, I think so. That's why I'm saying, because do you know what it is? It's not a regular season, Shan. It's like you're going to sit there and go, someone played an amazing game, but again, because you blind, so someone plays an idol for someone because they trust you dearly, and then you blindside them, and that's you can go, yeah, that's amazing, but at the same time, it's blindsiding your friends or someone that's loyal to you is easy. It's not hard to blindside your own people that are loyal to you. So Cerie's, got there because she's unbelievably good at building relationships. She's you're not just there's the game player, but there's the fact that you're just drawn to her. I got it's funny, I've only spent so much time with Suri, but I'm I fucking love her. She's just like you do.
Yeah.
I probably don't cry over her, you know what I mean? And
You be asking why I'm not crying to talk to you.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask that. You better be a tissue box after the.
I could get some tissues.
We've got history, Shan. We did. We've done a lot in the past. You've been with me through this whole Survivor journey just as much as JLP has to some degree. You know what I mean? And Ryan, Brick, you guys have, you give so much back. And that's what I'm saying is at least in the game, when there's always there's the part of, the moves and the crazy part, there's the most part, there's actually a special part, which is the relationships, that you get out there and spend so much time. And that's what's actually quite hard in going back and playing with players that you've now played the game with, you've got a relationship. Then out of the game, you've got this tight relationship. And then there's something that means so much to each person out there, and then you've got to take it off them by blindsiding them when they trust you. I don't know. I found it a bit harder than with blindsiding, say, Lisa or Tommy or Cass, for instance, or Suri or Parv at the time was much easier because I don't have these relationships with them before this actual game. So my whole intent was to take the world tribe down, for instance. But, naturally now, because I played with him, I'd be hell hard if I, say, landed on Big Brother and Sari was there and I'd have to blindside Sari. Do you know how hard that'd be? I'd be like, wow. But I think what it is I think what it is I need to have an epiphany moment from this season that the people that I feel like, how would I feel about blindside Sari if I played Big Brother now? She'd love it, because that's what I'm saying is like that. Instead of me going, oh, I couldn't, it'd be like, no, she would love it. Post think be like, you got me right. But when you're in the game, I struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. It was a tough one, Luke. You came in with so many relationships. In some ways that was like helpful, in some ways that really complicated things. So I hope you're not taking it too hard. It's been like a crazy year since you went out to play pretty much a year ago, and then with your daughter. So yeah. The
one thing, Shane, is I'm still getting mad love everywhere. Yes, if you don't make a few bad moves, people say, he played not the best game and this and that. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I was saying to Sarah, I was like, that mainly the biggest thing was when the final tribal council, all I kept thinking was like, oh my God, it was like 7 days from now, a year ago, is when I started the hospital journey. Like, the Survivor thing was like, had become such a like small thing in my life at the time, because the hospital thing was like the most craziest time of my life probably ever,
Sure.
So when it all everything kind of unraveled, I actually just thought it was nice to sit and watch the show win, lose or draw, like with the kids, and so that's so I'm fine. Like, the Survivor world, I've been lucky enough to play 3 times. I've been lucky enough for every single time my shows to make it extremely deep or win, whether it be Big Brother or Survivor. I've already done like some crazy moves. It's only the person in me would be like, it'd be like narcissistic, be like, oh, I haven't done enough. I didn't, I feel like after I played once, I was like, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to play Survivor. Do you know people that don't get to play that would have loved to play? Like, I'm sure you'll be out there at some point. Surely there'll be like, have you actually, would you play?
No, I'd be dead, Luke.
Play. You like, so this is what I'm saying. But because you talk about it, right, a lot. Like, you probably know all the players, all the moves, all the strategy. But you know what you need to have, Shannon? You need to go out and play so you can actually see the relationship part of it. And
Luke, I would see the first half a day, and then I would be medevaced from having a panic attack. And it. So, yeah, I'd really get a sense of it the first 6 hours in the game.
No, because it'll give you a different type of appreciation.
I appreciate it.
I know you've got all the appreciation. No, there's a different,
Look, I'm having a baby. I'm definitely not going out there now. Our best excuse ever.
You know what? There'd be people that online that want to see you do it, so you have to give it to the fans. Give it to the fans.
I'm busy.
Give it to the fans, Shannon.
Luke, we're way over time. Like, we're so well.
Yeah.
You have places to be.
I didn't even take the time.
Yeah. You go. But it was good. We got it all out. I feel like you watched yourself win fire in a finale with your kids, on your 3rd time playing. Like, you are lucky in that way. And this game is small comparably to other things that more than maybe anyone, more than most. And even within that, it's a joy. It's a gift. You play it 3 times. The people love you. You're the people's champion. And you make it far, and you've won Big Brother, and you played the Traitors. Like, it's a gift, I think.
It is a gift, and that's how I look at it. It's like, you're just blessed, blessed to go out there and have a crack, and people like watching it. So I think I've said that anyways. I think I've probably said that every podcast. I always count my blessings rather than the losses, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, where can the people find you and what you're doing and everything online that you're doing?
Yeah, so look, currently I'm trying to like work together something. I'm trying to go down the fishing route, but that's not launched yet. But yeah, you know, you've got my stuff. Same thing, Insta, Facebook. I'm sharing everything on there. I've still got some of that merch left of my shirts and stuff that I've got. And
you want my creeping shirt? I should have got it out.
Yeah. Like, should have some holes in it, eh, or what?
I could find it. I have it. I definitely have it.
Well, yeah. So look, in the end, that's all going to wrap up. I'm definitely, yeah. I've always got something happening, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this interview is double as long as the time you gave me, but we've just been chatting.
I should have looked at the time.
I'm sorry. You told me when you would want to. You would tell me when you wanted to wrap it up, and you never did. And now it's like.
I should have set my alarm. There we go.
Wrap it up. All right. Thank you so much, Luke. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for so much time that you've given us. Always great to catch up and talk about your game. It was a historic game, Australia versus the world. You get to go out there on a world stage as you deserve, and it was great to watch you out there. But thank you so much, Luke. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. Thank you to all the listeners, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Shannon.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.